Look around you. The words you speak, the roads you travel, the very idea of a government of the people, these are echoes from a collapsed star, Rome. Its light still reaches us, 2,000 years later. The calendar on your wall, Roman. The principle of innocent until proven guilty. Roman. Rome is more than ruins. It's the code running through Western civilization. It's a story of ambition, engineering, and political experiments that still shape our world. But it's also a warning, a civilization that soared, then fell under its own weight. The rise and fall of Rome is a laboratory for understanding what builds and breaks societies. If Earth's history were a year, Rome would be a supernova in the final seconds. For 1,000 years, it dominated the Mediterranean, connecting Europe, Africa, and Asia. It gave us gladiators, philosophers, aqueducts, and emperors, some brilliant, some mad. So, let's journey back. Picture a bend in a river in central Italy, before the Colosseum, before the legions, a time of myth, mud, and wolves. A city that would one day rule millions was just a cluster of huts on hills. This is where the story begins, not with a bang, but with a whisper that would grow into a roar across human history. Every great story needs a beginning. Rome's is wrapped in legend. Twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, raised by a she-wolf. This myth told Romans they were fierce, favored by the gods, destined for greatness. But Rome's true power came from its location, 7 hills above a key crossing on the Tiber River. The hills defended against invaders. The river connected Rome to trade and resources. It was a strategic sweet spot, fertile for crops and for empire. Early Romans were practical. Farmers, traders, soldiers, a melting pot from the start. Their openness to outsiders became a strength, absorbing new peoples and ideas. Their first kings were Etruscans, who taught them building, divination, and gladiatorial games. The Roman kingdom lasted over 2 centuries, growing from village to city. They built forums, temples, and the Cloaca Maxima, an early engineering marvel. But Romans distrusted absolute power. Tired of kings, they believed one-man rule led to tyranny. In 509 BCE, they did something revolutionary. They overthrew their last king and declared Rome a republic. The city was now ready to shape its own destiny. The seeds of empire were sown on those 7 hills. Rome's story was just beginning. The world would never be the same. From mud and myth, a new kind of power was born. The republic would change everything. The experiment in self-rule had begun. Rome was no longer just a place. It was an idea that would echo for centuries. The city on the hills was ready to rise, and the world would watch. Republic, res publica, meant the people's business. Power belonged to citizens, not kings. The Senate, a council of elders, guided policy and tradition. 2 consuls, elected yearly, shared power and could veto each other, a system of checks and balances. It was messy, but it worked, propelling Rome's expansion for centuries. Yet, not everyone was equal. Patricians ruled. Plebeians, the commoners, had limited rights. This sparked the conflict of the orders, a long struggle for equality. Plebeians won the right to elect tribunes, officials who could veto harmful laws. Laws were written down on the 12 tables, making justice visible to all. Eventually, plebeians could hold any office, even consul. This struggle forged a society that valued law, civic duty, and Roman identity. The Republic's strength came from its ability to adapt and include. Rome was ready to face the world. The experiment in self-government would be tested on a grand scale. The Republic was about to meet its greatest challenges. With internal politics settled, Rome expanded, first across Italy, then beyond. Expansion was often accidental. A defensive war led to alliances, then new conflicts. The Roman legion, disciplined and innovative, became history's most effective fighting force. Rome's greatest rival was Carthage, a naval power in North Africa. The Punic Wars were century-long struggles for Mediterranean dominance. Hannibal, Carthage's genius, marched elephants over the Alps, terrorizing Rome for years. Rome eventually defeated Hannibal and destroyed Carthage, becoming Mediterranean master. But victory changed Rome. Small farms vanished, replaced by vast estates worked by slaves. Unemployed Romans flooded the city, creating instability. The army became professional, loyal to generals, not the Senate. Generals like Marius, Sulla, and Pompey seized power with their armies. The Republic's system, built for a city-state, buckled under empire's weight. Then came Julius Caesar, brilliant general, master politician. He conquered Gaul, won the people's loyalty, and defied the Senate. Crossing the Rubicon, he sparked civil war. The Republic's fate was sealed. Rome was on the brink of transformation. The old order was collapsing. A new kind of ruler was about to emerge. Caesar's civil war ended with him as Rome's master, dictator for life. He reformed laws, gave land to veterans, and created the Julian calendar. But senators, fearing monarchy, assassinated him on the Ides of March. Instead of saving the Republic, they unleashed more civil wars. Out of chaos rose Octavian, Caesar's heir, ruthless, cunning, victorious. Octavian defeated rivals, including Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and became Augustus. He claimed to restore the Republic, but held all real power: army, treasury, provinces. The Senate kept its rituals, but Augustus was the first emperor in all but name. Thus began the Roman Empire and the Pax Romana, 2 centuries of peace and prosperity. Trade flourished, roads and sea lanes connected the empire, and Rome reached its greatest extent. 70 million people lived under one law, one currency, one ruler. It was an achievement of order and unity never seen before. The Republic was gone, but its forms remained, a mask for imperial power. Rome had become an empire in disguise. The world had entered a new era. No golden age lasts forever. Even at its peak, Rome contained seeds of decay. The vast military strained the economy. When conquest stopped, wealth dried up. Emperors devalued currency, causing inflation and hardship. Political stability depended on good emperors. Bad ones brought chaos. Civil wars and plagues ravaged the empire, shrinking cities and crippling the economy. The army, once Rome's strength, became a liability, loyal to generals, not Rome. Barbarian tribes pressed the borders. The empire was too big to defend. Disease, invasion, and economic collapse fed a vicious cycle of decline. The mighty empire was hollowing out from within. Rome's long, slow fall had begun. Facing crisis, Emperor Diocletian split the empire, 2 emperors for East and West. This tetrarchy brought temporary order, but division became permanent. Constantine moved the capital east to Byzantium, renamed Constantinople. The East thrived, the West declined, beset by invasions and internal weakness. Rome itself faded as emperors ruled from frontier cities. Germanic tribes settled within the empire, sometimes allies, sometimes enemies. In 476 CE, the last Western emperor was deposed. No great battle, just a quiet end. The Western Empire crumbled over centuries. The East, the Byzantine Empire, survived for 1,000 more years. The city of Rome was no longer the center, but its legacy endured. The empire had fractured, but its story was far from over. What was it like to live in Rome? Imagine Pompeii. Bustling streets, public baths, aqueducts, and towering buildings. Life was advanced, but harsh. Slavery was everywhere, life expectancy low, and power precarious. Gladiatorial games thrilled crowds, but were spectacles of death. Society was deeply unequal, and even emperors lived dangerously. When the Western Empire fell, its buildings crumbled, but its ideas endured. Romance languages, French, Spanish, Italian, descend from Latin. Even English is filled with Latin roots. Roman law inspired modern legal systems, trial by jury, civil rights, written codes. The idea of a republic inspired nations centuries later. Rome's story is a lesson in unity and fragility. It shows how engineering and law can bind a vast society, but it warns of the dangers of inequality, corruption, and overreach. Rome touched greatness, then fell apart. Its story forces us to ask, what holds a civilization together? What cracks threaten our own foundations? And when future civilizations look back, what echoes of us will they find?